What matters most is not exactly how you start, but rather how you finish.
He brought them back from a 6-game losing streak to overtake favored Cleveland, clincher for the AFC Central title.
We're looking at teams that either unraveled or rose to new life in the second half of the season. So, let's dive into the 5 worst late-season collapses in NFL history and the 5 greatest turnarounds. Collapse: 1994 Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were coming off a weird 1993 season. That squad won 4 in a row to start the year, then they lost 8 of their next 9. Then they closed out on a 3-game winning streak to salvage an 8-8 finish. Okay, so the 93 Eagles were simply a mediocre team. However, the 1994 squad appeared to be a bona fide Super Bowl contender. You know, at least for most of the year. Philadelphia jumped out to a 7-2 start, highlighted by a 40-8 thrashing of the eventual Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers at Candlestick Park. But the wheels quickly came off after a humiliating 26-7 loss to the Cleveland Browns at home. The offense endured a power outage, with Pro Bowl QB Randall Cunningham failing to throw a single TD pass in 4 of his last 5 starts. A 5-game losing skid dropped Philly to 7-7 and forced head coach Rich Kotite to bench Cunningham in favor of Brister for the last 2 games. Brister was unable to spark the Eagles, finished the year on a 7-game losing streak. The 7-9 finish ended up costing Kotite his job. Turnaround: 1996 Jacksonville Jaguars. What is especially incredible about the 96 Jaguars is that they were only in their 2nd season of existence, and a shocking playoff run followed their remarkable second-half turnaround. The Jags were predictably lousy in their inaugural 1995 season, finishing 4-12 under head coach Tom Coughlin. There was also no surprise to the 96 squad losing 7 of its first 11 games. To their credit though, 5 of Jacksonville's 7 losses had been decided by a single score. As it turned out, the first half Jaguars didn't stink, they were just unlucky. QB receiver tandem of Mark Brunell and Jimmy Smith got into rhythm in a Week 11 home win against the Baltimore Ravens. After losing to Pittsburgh in Week 12, the Jags offense caught fire and led the team to 4 straight wins. Now, they were 8-7 heading into the season finale, needing just one more win against the lowly Atlanta Falcons to make the playoffs. Magic appeared to be running out when Morton Anderson came out for a game-winning 31-yard field goal attempt in the waning seconds. He missed wide left, sending the Jags right into the playoffs. What followed was a 30-27 upset win over the Buffalo Bills in the wildcard round, followed by a 30-27 road win over John Elway and the top-seeded Broncos in the divisional round.
Even though I'd lost 3 Super Bowls before that Jacksonville game was the biggest loss of my life.
Sadly, the Cinderella run ended with a 20-6 loss to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Collapse: 2018 Pittsburgh Steelers. Coming off 4 straight playoff appearances and a 13-win season, the 2018 Steelers entered the year as one of the prime favorites to win it all. The season kinda got off to a bad start, with star running back Le'Veon Bell sitting out the entire year due to a contract dispute. Pittsburgh went 1-2-1 over its first 5 games, but James Conner emerged as a star in the backfield and got that offense going. Pittsburgh pulled off 6 straight wins, sitting at 7-2-1 with the AFC North seemingly in the bag. Or so we all thought. The Steelers were upset by the Denver Broncos in Week 12 after Ben Roethlisberger threw a costly game-sealing interception in the end zone. Later, they blew a 16-point home lead to the Los Angeles Chargers, who won the game on a last-second field goal. Week 14, the Steelers lost in comical fashion to the hapless Oakland Raiders when Chris Boswell slipped on a last-second game-tying field goal attempt. So now, Pittsburgh was 7-5-1 with only 3 games to go. Just when everyone thought they were done for, the Steelers upset Tom Brady and the eventual champion New England Patriots in Week 15 to keep their season alive. On the cusp of overtime against the NFC's top-seeded New Orleans Saints in Week 16, Juju Smith-Schuster fumbled the ball in the waning seconds, sealing the game for Drew Brees' squad. Before Week 17 against the Cincinnati Bengals, superstar wideout Antonio Brown snapped at Ben Roethlisberger and walked out on practice. He was inactive for the regular season finale, but the Steelers went on to win and finish 9-7-1. Not too bad, but too little too late. The Baltimore Ravens clinched the AFC North with a thrilling Week 17 win over the Cleveland Browns. Rookie QB Lamar Jackson won 6 of 7 starts after replacing Joe Flacco. Brown left the Steelers after the season. The Steelers never won a playoff game in Big Ben's Hall of Fame career ever again. Had they avoided all those gross late-game collapses and made the playoffs, well, there's honestly no telling how far Pittsburgh might have gone. Turnaround: 2016 Green Bay Packers. A humiliating 42-24 loss to Washington in primetime extended the Packers' losing streak to 4. So, at 4-6, Aaron Rodgers boldly stated that the Pack could run the table and still win the NFC North crown. Rodgers went beast mode over those final 6 games, throwing 15 touchdowns and no picks over the final 6. Pack ran the table all right, clinching the division with a victory over the Lions in Week 17. Green Bay took down the pesky Giants and the top-seeded Cowboys in order to reach the NFC Championship game. They were then blown out of the water by the Atlanta Falcons 44-21. But hey, a Final Four finish was no small feat after a 4-6 start. Collapse: 2009 Denver Broncos. A year after their miserable late-season collapse in 2008, the Broncos made some sweeping changes. Legendary head coach Mike Shanahan was fired and replaced by Patriots OC Josh McDaniels. Quarterback Jay Cutler was traded to the Chicago Bears, with Kyle Orton coming the other way. These changes paid dividends very early. I mean, Denver started out with a perfect 6-0 record. 4 of those wins came against eventual playoff teams, including Tom Brady's Patriots and Philip Rivers' Chargers at Qualcomm Stadium. The Broncos lost their touch and lost the next 4 games, each decided by double-digit scores. They rebounded with wins against the Giants and Chiefs to improve to 8-4, and now McDaniels' group was back in business. Or so we all thought. They lost 3 in a row and entered Week 17 against Kansas City in must-win mode. The Broncos' collapse was officially complete. Turnaround: 2022 Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags don't have much of a winning history, but they do have 2 of the most remarkable late-season turnarounds in NFL history. So hey, that's something for their fans to celebrate. Nobody really thought much of the Jaguars heading into 2022. They were coming off back-to-back 32nd place finishes. The disastrous Urban Meyer era didn't even last a full season. But it sure seemed to have carried over early in 2022, with the Jags starting 2-6, 3-7, and 4-8. But Trevor Lawrence went into MVP mode, and the Jaguars' D finally started to come together. 4 straight wins pushed Jacksonville to 8-8. The Titans, who lost starting QB Ryan Tannehill to injury, dropped 6 straight and entered Week 18 at 7-9. Jacksonville hosted Tennessee for the AFC South Division crown in the regular season finale. Their defense held on for a win, closing out the regular season on a 5-game winning streak to win the AFC South. Jacksonville erased a 27-0 deficit to the Los Angeles Chargers in the wildcard round for its first playoff win since 2017. Heck, they gave the eventual Super Bowl champion Chiefs a run in the divisional round, but eventually fell 27-20. Not before an inspiring and remarkable late-season resurgence, though. Collapse: 1987 San Diego Chargers. Because of the players' strike, the 1987 season was shortened to 15 regular season games instead of 16. And boy, could the 87 Chargers have used that 16th game. After losing their season opener to the Chiefs, the Bolts caught fire and reeled off 8 straight wins. Head coach Al Saunders had his players firing on all cylinders. The playoffs were a virtual guarantee. But then, star QB Dan Fouts reached a cold spell at the worst possible time. Over his final 5 starts, Fouts threw just 2 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. The Bolts dropped their final 6 games, giving up 24+ points in 4 of them. 5 of the losses were by 13 or more points. The Chargers started 8-1 and finished 8-7, missing the playoffs by a single game. Fouts retired after that season, adding insult to injury for this long-suffering franchise. Turnaround: 1970 Cincinnati Bengals. After a season-opening win over the Raiders, the Bengals proceeded to lose 6 in a row, giving up at least 20 points in each defeat. But even at 1-6, Paul Brown's squad refused to give up. Led by the dynamic rushing duo of Paul Robinson and Jess Phillips, Bengals offense finally caught some life. The Bengals closed out the year on a 7-game win streak. The Cleveland Browns dropped 5 of their final 8 games, relinquishing the AFC Central Division to their state rivals. Cincy's magical season ended with a 17-0 loss to the Baltimore Colts in the divisional round. Collapse: 1993 Miami Dolphins. Don Shula's Dolphins were supposed to be doomed when superstar QB Dan Marino suffered a season-ending Achilles tear in Week 6 against the Cleveland Browns. But backup QBs Scott Mitchell, who subsequently missed time with an injury, and Steve DeBerg kept the offense afloat without Marino. A thrilling Week 13 win over the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving moved Miami to 9-2 on the season. All the Dolphins needed was one more win over its final 5 games to secure 10 wins and a wildcard berth. But the Pats walked off Miami in an overtime thriller. That clinched a 5-game losing skid for Miami, who lost out on the playoff tiebreakers to Denver and Pittsburgh. Turnaround: 2008 San Diego Chargers. The Chargers were a trendy pick to win Super Bowl 41 in 2008. They were coming off their first trip to the AFC Championship game since 1994. It finally looked like Philip Rivers was ready to win the big one, but all hope appeared to be lost on not 1, but 3 occasions. Dropped their first 2 games, decided by a combined margin of 3 points. A Week 8 loss to New Orleans had them at 3-5. After beating the Kansas City Chiefs playoffs in Week 10, they dropped 3 more one-score games and sat at 4-8 with 4 games to go. Bolts reeled off 3 straight wins to set up a winner-go-home game in Week 17 against the Broncos. The Bolts completed the late-season surge with a 52-21 blowout win over Denver in order to win the division. They rode that momentum to a thrilling overtime win over Peyton Manning's Indianapolis Colts in the wildcard round, before ultimately bowing out a week later to Pittsburgh. But hey, what other late-season collapses and turnarounds should we have included on our list? Was there a notable example that we may have missed? Let us know in the comments section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then hey, clicking the like button helps us out a ton. And you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea, because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.